Alrighty, so for the final forms task number 4, as I dubbed it Loop Central, as you can see right here, we have been tasked with creating a pretty simple loop within a loop within a loop, or just a regular loop, however you want to do it. Either way, we've been given a flowchart, and all we have to do is manage to code this flowchart into a website, which I've done right here. So I'm going to be going real quick, walking you through each line of code that I have shown, and hopefully you can follow along, understand, and do it yourself. So, for the flowchart, we've got multiple boxes. You've got the start and stop in circles, you have a set, you have kind of like a grab, you have a condition, and then the set, and the set, and the set, and the set, and the condition. So flowcharts are really easy to follow, you just have to take them step by step. So let's start at the beginning. Start. S equals 12. So S is a variable, so I'm going to picture this as $S. So if $S equals 12, and we know, as I can see down here, $S is going to be equal to 0 at the end. So S equals 12, enter P into the mix. Is P even? So they've picked a number. Let's say P is 7 in this example. Is P even? No, it's not. So we're going to be following down. Is P prime? 7 is a prime number, so it's going to go to the yes. Is P less than S? Yes, it is. 7 is under that. So S is going to become S minus P. 12 minus 7, that gets you 5. So after this, it's going to go up here. P is then increased by 2. P is now 9, so we have 5 and 9. If we go over, is P even? It is not. Is it prime? No, it's not. P is increased by 2. Is P even? No. Is it prime? Yes. It is not. So then S is minus 1. Is S 0? Not quite. And that's all the loop is. So let's say S is, let's just say S is 7, so we can see the calculation. So, $P is 7. I'm just going to change that real quick. So, if P is 7, S is 12, P becomes 9, S is still 5, then it becomes 11, while S still remains 5, then S is decreased by 4, because now 11 is greater than 12, or 11 is greater than S at the time, which is 5. So that becomes 13, then 15, then 17, and as you can see, P is still getting higher here, but S is just getting gradually lower, 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 and then eventually you get 0. So we know the loop will stop when S equals 0, because that's when it will output the final 1. So we know that 7 will result in 23. If we did 52, it's going to be a lot longer. It'll get to 103. So that's nice. So let's start breaking it down to a loop, something we can work with. So the way I do it is I just created a list of functions that are all going to be doing certain things on this flowchart. That way I can return them, and I only have the functions to work with. I don't have to keep typing out the thing over and over. So I have a function here created by Mr. Braun that checks if a number is prime. So it will import $n, which is just whatever number you put in. It creates $x as a counter, which is equal to 2. Then if $x is less than or equal to the number divided by 2, x will keep increasing. If n, our number, is not a percentage of x, so if it cannot, I can't speak. So if n is a percentage of x, so it's divisible by 2 and divisible and divisible and divisible and divisible, eventually getting to 1, or to 0 eventually, it will return 0. But if not, it will return 1. So after the loop keeps running, if the number does not return a whole number, we know it's not prime. Then I have my function for double p. That's just increasing p by 2 right here. P equals p plus 2 in the loop, therefore p equals p plus 2 in the function, and it will return p. P plus 1, that's just at the top left of the loop. If p is even, p will increase by 1. Then I have s minus p, s minus 1, and my even or odd checker. So we have if our submit button is pressed, because I have everything in a form, so our submit button is what activates the loop. If submit button is pressed, we'll start with the initial values. So $p is whatever they want, and I have it so s is equal to 12. You could have it so they could set s if they wanted. So get the initial input for p. If p is less than 1, because it has to be greater than or equal to 1. So if it's under 1, the loop will not run. It will come with an error. So I just have it so, let's say I put in -3. It'll just give me a little text box saying error, the number must be greater or equal to 1. The else statement runs because it manages to get through, s equals 12, and it will echo a line break, so that way it won't be touching my red bar here. Then I have my loop. I have only one loop because this can be done in only one loop. If you want to do it in more loops, you can. I just think it's easier to do it in one. And I've created a loop that's simply while $stop, which is something I create in the loop, does not equal yes. So the loop is just looking for me to say, alright, we're done. That's typically what I do with loops, unless I know of a variable for sure that I'm going to be measuring. In this case, I wasn't quite as confident, so I decided to do it the way I did. So, if $s is not equal to 0, it will do the basic format of this. $p, $s, and then the results in symbol, equals, and then the next. And it will just keep doing that. Once it equals 0, though, you can see it doesn't do it again. Next, if function even or odd. So, as you can see, the first condition we reach in our loop is even or odd. So, if even odd is equal to even, we know we're going to have to do p plus 1. So I did $p is equal to plus 1, because that's why I named the function. So I throw p into the variable, and then after that, the loop comes down here. Is p prime? So I just check. If prime is equal to 0, which is if it's not a prime number, it will do double p, or increase p by 2. And that's where that loop would end. After it reaches this, it won't follow any more of the else statements. It will reach the end of this line of code right here, and it will go, all right, do the loop again, and do the loop again, and do the loop again. But you can answer no to is p even. So right here, I have my first else. That should be right. Oh yeah, that takes a lot of time. So my else right here, I have if p is even and if p is odd. If it's odd, it goes straight to prime. So I have a check prime here, and then it'll do the double p, and then the loop would end, and it would keep going there. Now, back up into the even. If it fails to check the prime, so if the number is prime, it will have to go down and check if p is greater than s. So I have an if statement saying if p is greater than s. So, if p is less than s, it will do these two things, because it goes s is s minus p, and then p is p plus 2. There's no conditions, there's no nothing, it just goes into there, and the loop repeats. So that's the end of that. Or I have the else, $s minus 1, and then check if s equals 0. If s equals 0, you have no, it goes to double P. If yes, the entire loop stops. It sets stop to equal to yes, it does the while check at the bottom, it sees stop equals yes, it outputs the final, and then we're done. Similarly, if the number comes up to be a non-prime number, so if check prime equals 0, double P, if not, P is less than S, it does that, else you get $s minus 1, if S is equal to 0, or if S doesn't equal 0, double P, else activate stop. So I'm not creating anything funky, all I did was code the loop, assuming all of the conditions led to another condition. So I coded it as if P is even, I saw that if it's answered yes, it would do a condition and go to the next. So I said, alright, let's go no. No will take me straight to an answer. If I answer yes to is P is prime, it will take me straight to another condition. If I answer no to that, it will take me straight to another condition. And if I answer yes to that, it will take me to the output. So what I did is I coded my first line, which was straight through all of the conditions, getting past them no problem, doing as little as possible, and going straight to the output. Then all I did was add in the else statements, just in case something else happened, and eventually I got this line of code right here. When I plugged it into my website, compared it to Bronze, everything worked. Now, you don't have to do double P like I did here. I decided to do functions to keep everything simple. You could just do $P equals $P plus 2. That would still work. I do functions because I find it a lot neater, but there's nothing stopping you. From there, all I did was took a photo of the loop so people could see what was going on, pasted it here. I did a thing called highlight file to show my web page. It does code, span, so it sets all of my colors for me as well. So if I click on this link, it will automatically put in all of the code that was in that box, and it automatically colors everything to look really pretty. If you guys want to copy and paste this code for yourself, put it in, and maybe you guys want to change some things, that's where you do it. And then false is just to make everything neat, so let me show you what happens if you make false true. It's true by default, I believe, so you're going to want to set to false, but whoops. Yeah, it's true by default, so if I get rid of that, not as bad as I thought. I can't remember what I did, but I ended up breaking this multiple times, so worst comes to worst, don't put anything, just put the highlight file. You'll get something that looks pretty neat. And then finally, my image source. And then below this, I'm going to put the iframe of the video you're watching right now. I'm just going to make this 80% width. And then if I remove height from this, it will keep the aspect ratio of the video. And there we go. I hope this guy kind of help you to not really understand what I did for the loop itself, but more the process I took to get the loop. Because if you just did everything I just did, copied all the code, and boom, you're fine, you're not actually gaining anything from this. The whole point of this is to help you see how I tackle a problem, how I choose to look at it. And what I choose to do is I blunt force my way initially, and I add more things on later. That's kind of just how I look at a problem. If I can blunt force it and get my way through it first, then I'll take the time to carefully analyze and tweak my code a little bit more.